The NASCAR drama is heating up and team owners are frustrated by the charter agreement. According to rumors, they're planning some on-track antics for 2024. What is causing these executives to turn red? Could it be the multi-billion-dollar media rights deal or the sluggish dance around charter negotiations? We've got the inside scoop, and believe me, you won't want to miss the surprises. So get ready for this crazy adventure in the world of NASCAR. Things are about to get serious. Don't miss out on the inside scoop. Subscribe to our channel and hit that like button for more whereabouts on NASCAR. As we gear up for 2024, NASCAR's got a lot on his plate. First, there's the buzz around that fresh media rights deal set to kick in come 2025. But hot on its heels is the pressing matter of the charter agreement. And things aren't moving at the speed they should be, and that's starting to ruffle some feathers. Adam Stern, the go-to guy for all things NASCAR, spilled the beans on the Money Lab, pointing out that NASCAR's delay in making a call on the charter agreement might stir up some unexpected trouble. He spilled the beans on the Dirty Mo Live podcast, saying that while some teams are pleased, not everyone is doing the happy dance. Some folks out there were hoping for an even bigger and better deal, thinking NASCAR could have upped the cost. According to him, this hiccup opens the door for teams to express their discontent with NASCAR by, and I quote, pulling stunts on the track. Now that's one way to make a statement, right? Stern spilled the tea, sharing that some wanted more races on the broadcast. Sure, there's a bit of hesitation and mixed feelings among the teams. Stern pointed out that NASCAR's ratings have taken a hit, dropping by over 50% since the last charter deal. Still, a 40% increase in media rights revenue, that's no small feat, and NASCAR deserves a pat on the back for that, even if not everyone is throwing streamers. The charter agreement saga that kicked off back in 2016. This deal basically lets the charters, aka car numbers, compete for championships, and when the season wraps up, these charters get a slice of the revenue-sharing pie. Now, the big question is, what percentage of NASCAR's earnings gets divvied up among these charters? That's a crucial detail outlined in the agreement. Teams have been grinding it out, working hard to turn a profit each year and secure their spot in the Cup Series. NASCAR threw in some new requirements to keep a charter, like hitting certain revenue targets and snagging a decent spot in the final standings. It's been a bit of a puzzle for some teams to fit into this picture. NASCAR and the Cup Series teams have been playing a game of give and take, trying to find a sweet spot that works for both sides. In the latest buzz, teams are pulling a move to demand a larger share of the TV viewership revenue in the next deal. Since the current contract wraps up in 2025, these teams want a bigger incentive to stick around in the charter agreement game, and it's causing quite a stir. According to Stern, NASCAR did a pretty solid job, if not a downright great one, from the team's perspective when it came to that media rights deal. And now he's thinking this might give the team some extra bargaining power in the upcoming charter negotiations, especially considering what NASCAR's president, Steve Phelps, recently had to say. In a recent Zoom meeting during Race Industry Week, Phelps spilled the beans saying, "Our race teams by and large are losing money at the Cup level, and that is something we need to solve for them. We can solve that with two key pillars. One is to make sure that they're getting additional revenue. They're interested in getting more money from the sanctioning body and the tracks through the purse, and that is something we need to do." Phelps is all in, rallying for the teams. He's not entirely sure how the newfound cash is going to be divvied up when it comes to extending that charter agreement. The plot thickens. Now that NASCAR has wrapped up that new media rights deal, they're ready to sit down with the teams and figure out how to divvy up the cash as part of a fresh charter agreement. Usually, the sanctioning body guarantees each charter team a set amount for the season and throws in some extra based on how well they perform. In the past, NASCAR would hand over 25% of the media rights revenue to the teams, keeping 10% for itself. The remaining 65% went to tracks owned by either NASCAR or Speedway Motorsports. But with this shiny new media rights deal, Steve Phelps, the president of the sport, is scratching his head a bit about how to handle the extra dough. According to Fox Sports, Phelps spilled the beans, saying, "Nothing to report at this particular time about how the dollars will be distributed. That will be between our teams and us in the coming couple of months as we get our charters extended. I don't know exactly when we are going to get it, the charter agreement, done. The teams and ourselves are committed to doing that." According to the wise words of Adam Stern, this tussle could be the main reason we might see a bit of rebellion from the Cup Series teams. He spilled the tea saying, one person last week who's close to several teams, several top owners and drivers. I asked them if the deal that NASCAR got last week with its media rights partners was going to ensure that the deal will be done by Daytona, and they said no. If the deal doesn't get done by Daytona, it is fine because the next deal for the charter agreement and media rights starts from 2025. But that will start opening up the opportunity for teams to potentially pull stunts on the track. There have been rumblings about things like that. Just last week, NASCAR dropped the news about their shiny new media rights agreement with Fox Sports, Prime Video, Warner Bros. Discovery, and NBC Sports. These four big shots are taking the reins for the live coverage of the Cup Series, and it's costing NASCAR a cool $1.1 billion annually, racking up to a whopping $7.7 billion from 2025 to 2031. With the media rights deal in the bag, teams were crossing their fingers for some speedier action on revising the charter agreement. According to Stern, nothing's moved on that front just yet. There's some murmuring about teams expressing their not-so-happy feelings to NASCAR during a race. Stern spilled the tea saying, "Nothing has happened, but there have been rumblings about teams somehow showing their displeasure to NASCAR during a race. Obviously, they can do things kind of with the PR side and media side as well, as they kind of did when they held their original." Meanwhile, NASCAR president Steve Phelps had his say on the charter negotiations and a bunch of other topics at the annual State of the Sport address last week. Despite the growing impatience and restlessness among teams, Steve Phelps is standing firm in his belief that they can reach an agreement that works for everyone. He's all about finding the sweet spot that benefits both NASCAR and the teams, and he's not taking his eye off the prize. Phelps laid it out saying, "We've acknowledged that we want to change the paradigm for our race teams. And we need to make sure our race teams are profitable, competing on the racetracks. We are interested in having their enterprise value climb, as I said earlier. So, profitability and competitiveness are top of mind." In the past, Cup Series teams snagged 25% of the media rights revenue, leaving NASCAR with a 10% slice. The chunky 65%? Well, that went into sprucing up NASCAR-owned or Speedway Motorsports-owned tracks. But with the new media rights deal bringing in some heavy hitters, finding the right balance is a bit of a puzzle. When quizzed about the nitty-gritty of the negotiations, Phelps played it close to the chest, saying, "We won't get into the negotiations specifically, but I would say that I'm confident that the teams and NASCAR will come to an agreement that is fair for race teams, fair for NASCAR, and help grow the sport. I think that's what we're going to do." The big question mark hanging over all of this is whether the charter agreement will stick around in 2025. Teams are growing increasingly unhappy with the radio silence, and it's only a matter of time before they start making their concerns public. What are your thoughts on this? Tell us in the comments below. So, the NASCAR media rights deal is in the bag, and now it's just a waiting game to see how the charter agreement negotiations play out. Everyone's got their eyes peeled to see what the teams are aiming for and how NASCAR tackles things this time around. So that's all we've got for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think of the video in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in the upcoming video.